Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. It has been a very long time since I have been in this game, but thankfully I decided to switch over to a much better internet provider, so far at least. I'm not going to jinx myself, and their speeds are much better, and that has allowed me to get back into World Flight VR. So I figured today, since it has been some time, I believe about a month since I played this game and did a video for you guys, I was going to go ahead and hop right in here today, and we're going to go and take a look at Mount St. Helens today. We are over at the Portland International Airport. I was originally going to try and leave from the Southwest Washington Regional Airport, which is a bit closer. But unfortunately, the game, for whatever reason, wasn't picking it up on the map. I probably could have just spawned overhead and landed, but I was like, oh well. So we're going to leave from the Portland International Airport today, and it's about a 59-mile trip. So this will be a little bit longer video than I had planned to, but you know what? That's okay. It's been a minute since I've been able to do this. So, but I hopped in earlier today, and I got familiar with everything again, and thankfully it all came back to me, kind of like riding a bike. So we're going to go ahead and fire up the plane, and we're going to go check it out. Definitely feels good to be back. Normally you wouldn't make a right-hand turn off the runway like this, but to shave off a few extra seconds of already going to be a long video, we're going to go ahead and break a couple of rules today. Autopilot just for a few minutes here. So, like I said before, we are back in the game. For those of you who are just seeing these videos or just getting into the game for the first time, or if you're not sure about getting the game, what I can tell you is this, that make sure your internet speed is good. I was running at 5 megabytes a second, and that wasn't cutting it at all. I know a fellow player on the Discord server, which, go check that out. I'll try to maybe link it in the description of this video here. But I know he was saying that he runs at 10 megabytes a second and the game runs. So I would say at least have 10 megabytes a second of speed or faster. I've got a lot faster than that, so I'm running really well, thankfully. And so yeah. But as you can see, it loads. The draw distance is nice still. Now, whether or not the developers are still working on this game or not, I don't know. There hasn't been a whole lot of word from them, and we haven't seen any updates for a little while. Those of us that have been playing since its release are really hopeful that they continue working on the game and that they continue to develop it and update it. If they don't, or if they have stopped for a while, or whatever the case may be, I mean, as it stands right now, it's not a bad game. It's got a lot of potential to it. It's got a lot of things you can do. Obviously, like you can see, I mean, you've got 3D buildings. You can fly anywhere in the world. I mean, anywhere in the world. So a lot of the most of your buildings are going to be like generic, 3D renderings, like you see. There are a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? A lot of things out there, say like the Statue of Liberty or like the pyramids. They've actually modeled those. I don't know if it's the game developers that modeled it or if it's, I believe they use Google Earth. And if you went on Google Earth and you looked up like a 3D image of the area, that's basically what you're going to see, but in this view. And you'll be able to fly around it or past it or over it. Same thing in this game. You got mountain ridges, and as we're going to see here in a little while, we're going to see the Mount St. Helens volcano. So, that's still a ways to go. Yeah. But it's definitely good to be back in the game. Like I said, I played around with it a little bit today, just to make sure it was going to load everything, and it loaded everything just fine. Even places that are really congested, like New York, Manhattan, and stuff, it loaded those just fine. If you're new to the channel, I appreciate you stopping by and taking a look. Now that my internet speeds are much better, I plan to try and crank out these videos as much as I can. The beauty of this game is there's a lot of places to explore, a lot of ground to cover. So I got plenty of options, plenty of places to go to. So hopefully other ones I usually don't try to do long videos like this one's going to end up being, just mainly because it's a long video. And a lot of it's just this here, just kind of flying over this area. So I try to keep closer. Unfortunately, the airport I was trying to take off from would have had me about 13 miles away as opposed to like 50. So unfortunately, but we'll get there. And we can look at the view along the way. And like I said, if you're on the fence about getting the game, as long as your internet speeds are good enough, then kind of give you an idea of what you're going to get. For those of you just coming into the game, like I said, I'll kind of go over the stuff in the plane here since it has been a minute. But you have your two displays. You have your display about your fuel and your wind. Not 100% sure about whether or not that reads properly. I don't know. I can tell you that usually the arrow is right, so like this, meaning it's coming at me. Yeah, I don't think it's not going towards 164 degrees, because south is 180, that'd be like 190. And I'm thinking it's definitely not coming from 164 degrees, so that might be wrong. But it says it's 1 knot. But you got your fuel, all that good stuff. You do have a auxiliary fuel tank that you can utilize. I calculated it out some time ago, but you have like, in total with your reserve tank of fuel, like maybe 3 or 4 hours of flight time total. So I mean unless you're using some extended battery life on your Oculus or whatever you're flying it on, you're not going to need that much fuel. You'll get to your destination just fine. It does have autopilot feature, which I've got right now. It tells you your heading and your altitude. And in this case, it'll actually, autopilot will take me to a waypoint, which I have positioned out here. Here you can zoom in and out of these. You can change your radar to a front camera. You got your artificial horizon. You got your altimeter. You got your airspeed and knots. That I have found is actually incorrect, just based on flight time to known distances. These are actually half of this, so 100 is actually 50 knots, 200 is 100 knots, and these are in increments of 10, not 20. I'm actually on altitude here. But you have your lights, nav lights, beacon, landing lights, strobe lights, and they all do function. Altitude here, I'll take a look at those for you. Normally in these videos I do try to go to the destination, and then land. But unfortunately, again, with this, me having to go from a longer distance away, I'm probably not going to waste the time to fly all the way back to land. So in this one, we'll take a look at the volcano and stuff, fly around a little bit and everything, and then we'll end the video. Alright, so again, like I said, you have your lights, you have your fuel cutoff and fuel pump, and your fuel tank selector, that's your engine start. You have your parking brake, which acts as a brake when you land on the runway, and as soon as you do, you can throw your parking brake on before, and when the game originally released, it would stop you almost on a dime, and it would usually pitch you over and you'd crash. A couple of my videos, I made comments about there needed to be like a brake or a way to slow the plane down and everything, and so they made it where it was less abrupt, it's more gradual when you hit the brake button. You get your landing gear, you get your flaps, you have flaps, no flaps, you have half flaps, and you have full flaps. You get your throttle and everything, you get your flight stick and stuff. Oh, your lights. As you can see, green light and your red light, and I'll actually go to an outer view here real quick. You can go into your photo mode, and that takes you outside the airplane where you can actually look around and enjoy the sights, and you can mess with your time and stuff. You get little lights and whatnot, and you can zoom in and out of the airplane. You can take snapshots, you can change your photo effects, but like I said, you got your strobe lights, you got your beacon light and stuff. And yes, I'm pretty sure this airplane is modeled after a Cirrus SR-22. Not 100%, because the SR-22 has a side yoke, which I'm really glad this one doesn't. I would either prefer a standard, like, steering yoke or whatever, or a flight stick like this as opposed to the side deal. So I'm glad they didn't do that. The Cirrus SR-22s don't have retractable landing gear. This one does. And it's obviously more simplified. But it's the standard. If you look at a cockpit of an SR-22, this is essentially what you're going to be seeing. You do have bench seats in the back. Not exactly safe, because you really can't have anyone sitting back there. Next video, though, I've already got it planned out, and I know there's an airport nearby. I will be doing a flight over the Grand Canyon, so I might film that one today. We'll see, probably, and I'll try to have these both uploaded here later on. So we're about 32 miles out. Now again, for those of you, if you're just seeing this video for the first time and just getting into the game, like I said, the controls, obviously they could use some work. There is still a lot of dead zone in the controls. Like I said, I mean, there's some, but I mean, like, I'm pulling that stick back and now it goes forward and then it goes, I mean, the side to side's not horrible, but that's just as you play, you'll get used to how much you have to kind of push the stick around until it responds. Don't do anything ridiculous like this. I mean, you can. The plane's fine. But I mean, if you're wanting a more controlled flight and stuff, you just got to kind of work the stick until it starts to respond. There is no trim on this yet, assuming the developers haven't completely given up on it or not. But I have found that you can trim it with the throttle and everything, especially if you got if you got a real heavy headwind kind of pushing on you. It tends to want to make the airplane pitch up. So with that, I just kind of not have a tailwind. If a tailwind's pushing me, it tends to want to pitch the plane up, like it's being kind of pushed along like this. Whether that's accurate or not to real flight, I don't know. But I know that if I throttle back a little bit, it seems to compensate for it. Now the headwind part and stuff, it usually won't. It'll kind of want to push you down just a little bit, but not nearly as bad. So crosswinds, obviously, they will push you left to right. I have had a lot of people, or not a lot of people, but a handful of people comment on some of my videos that hey, I just got the game, it's really difficult, every time I try to land, I crash. Landing's not too difficult, really, in the game. I did do a video on how to land and stuff, so if you haven't seen that video, go check it out. But I will say that it is just a matter of make sure, I don't really worry about the artificial horizon and things like that too much. Look more visual flight. Look at your glide slope. Make sure you got your angle right as you're coming in and stuff. Especially on final approach, my hand is always on the throttle the whole time. So, and that allows me to adjust as needed. My tips to that, definitely make sure that you got your setup for landing and everything. Like you have your flaps the way you want them, and that your landing gear is down. I do hope that if the developers are still working on this game, or if they still watch these videos, you guys are still out there. Like I said, definitely a trim wheel would be nice. Trim wheel would definitely be nice. Another thing about the flaps is I've noticed that you got to kind of make sure you get down in here and you make sure you grab a hold of the flap switch. It's real close to the selector for the gear and stuff, which that's all fine and good in flight if I accidentally hit my landing gear button. But when you're on the ground, no. It'll raise up your landing gear and then you'll explode. Which that's another thing. I'd like it to where if the airplane didn't explode every time it hit the ground. That'd be nice to be able to practice emergency landing, etc. But again, assuming that they are still working on the game, it might be nice to have the flaps as instead of a switch, have it as a selector button. In the Cirrus SR22, it is. It's actually in the spot where the engine start switch is. And it's a little switch. It's like a little turn dial switch. So, just food for thought. We're going to have to get some more altitude because the altitude of Mount St. Helens is like 8,300 feet. So, definitely only I want to climb. Interesting enough, she's naturally wanting to climb on them. But the visuals look good though. Here you got your mountains and stuff, and the last update they did increase the draw distance quite a bit, so compared to what it was. Will notice I said there was no airports nearby, but there's these. But those are, at least when I was looking at the Sky Vector charts and stuff, those are all like privately owned little airfields and stuff, and I don't think any of those are long enough for me to land on. almost there. Coming into view now. Still need to get some out. Well, now that we're here, talk a little bit about it. So, its big eruption was May 18th of 1980, 9 years before I was even thought of anymore. It is a stratovolcano, and it is still very active, apparently. This is ridiculously high, so I knew I need to get my altitude. Sitting at about 8,300 plus or minus feet. From what I remember reading, it was a bit taller before the explosion. Everything got blown out of it. Definitely would not have wanted to been anywhere near here when this sucker went off. Keep climbing, we'll make our way up here. Go right over the top of it. Crossing over. There it is, folks. The inside of Mount St. Helens. stuff is all left over from it. I don't know if you can see this, but I don't know why my hand's up there. There we go. Oops. Lost my tracking there for a second. If you're new to the game and you just got it and you're wondering if it's worth it, like I said, this is what you get to see. Stuff otherwise you wouldn't be able to see. You know, I mean, it's one thing to see this in a picture. I mean, unless you were lucky enough to go visit these places and stuff, a lot of people aren't that lucky. But to get to see this from this type of perspective, this, like you're actually there, seeing the sheer size of everything. It's ridiculous. And not only that, but I don't know too many, I don't know if this is a no-fly zone or not. Or if there's restrictions. Like, I don't know if they just let you just buzz around inside the crater like I'm doing, so. Stop here a moment. We'll go in our photo mode. We'll turn back around. It looks like it's kind of covered in, I don't know if that's draw distance or cloud cover or something, but like I said in the beginning of the video, like I said, I'm not going to drag this one out since it was a bit more longer than I had planned. And by going all the way back to that airfield, or that airport landing. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to call it a day on this one. But I thank you. Thanks for stopping by and watching the video. And if you haven't, like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you in the next one.